I recently built the perfect starter island, and in this video I'm going to build a perfect cozy village with a bunch of farms to automate as many resources as possible, all in hardcore. But before we start building, we should find a location for the village, and I have a pretty good idea. Last time we made this dock, but it currently leads nowhere, so I think the perfect location for the new village would be right there on the mainland. But before we start building, we need to prepare this area a little bit. First of all, we have a big hole right here that we need to cover up. Besides that, I do want to do something with this beach. I basically want it to be a bit more of like a cliff right here where the dock will be. Before I can start terraforming, I need an upgrade for my shovel. And as I don't have any good ways of getting experience yet, I need to go fishing to gain the levels I need. But luckily, I got Silk Touch, Efficiency 4 and Unbreaking 3 on my first try. How great is that? With an upgraded shovel, I could finally start preparing the area for my new village. And just like that, most of the terraforming is done. It's mostly just flat up here, but that will make a lot more sense when we start adding in the buildings. Other than that, I just have a small plateau over here, and then I smoothed out the edges. But I'm not totally finished terraforming just yet. As I mentioned, I wanted some cliffs down here. This is also where the docks will be, and I think the docks will look much cooler up against the cliffs instead of this beach. I haven't made many cliffs in my days, but I love to challenge myself and do something new. So how hard can that be? To start out, I think I'll just start making some shapes here. Okay, so I actually have some shapes here that I think I like. It's kind of like big boulders, almost. And then I even still have some sand going in here. Now I just need to add these all the way along here. But I think I'll actually leave an open area right here where we'll have a staircase that goes down to the harbor. And there we go, the stones are now in, but I think they still need a little bit. I'm actually thinking of adding in some tuff and maybe some andesite to make it look like the stones are a little bit wet down at the bottom here. So let me just try that. Now that is already looking much better. I think we can do a little bit more, and I think I'll actually add in some cobblestone up at the top here. And to finish it up, I think I'll add in a few buttons here and there to make it look like there's small little boulders here as well. And with that, I think the cliffs here are finished. I think those little buttons actually add in a lot of detail, and I really do like that. Now we just need to add in a harbor. The harbor is going to be in the same style as the one on the starter island, so this should be pretty straightforward. But besides the harbor, I also want to add in a few market stalls to make the harbor look just a bit more interesting. The dock is obviously the same style as the one on the starter island, but I've added in a few market stalls to make it feel a bit more alive. Other than that, I've just added in a few details here and there with some storage and stuff like that, so it looks like the dock is actually being used. While preparing this area, I ran out of iron, so I think it would be very beneficial to start out by making an iron farm. This way, we will keep getting more iron while we build the rest of the village. I'm not gonna pretend I know how to build an iron farm, or any redstone farms for that matter, but I've found a tutorial and I've now gathered the stuff that I need, all besides 3 villagers and 1 zombie, but we'll get to that later. Now we actually have a functioning iron farm. Well, we do need some villagers and a zombie, but besides that, everything is as it's supposed to be. But before we start moving the villagers and zombies in there, I think I actually want to cover this up with a nice little church. So what I'm thinking, I actually want some windows down in this end right here, so that you could look in and see the iron golems burn. That sounded very sinister, but I swear, it's just, it will look cool, I promise. And then I'm guessing the door will be down in this end, and maybe even have like a tower up here. Okay, so I think we will just start with the walls. I'm thinking I'm gonna go from an andesite up to a stone block. The wall should be about 5 blocks high, I think. Let's try that out. We may have to tear some of this here down, just so that we can actually texture this the right way. And then for the ends, I think we'll actually bring it up just a little bit more. Just up into a nice little peak like this. And I'll do that down here as well. And I'll actually add in another one right here. And then in between these, we'll just add in some spruce stairs. At the top here, we'll just add in some spruce wood planks. And then on the ends here, we'll add in some stone brick walls, just like this. We'll do that on all of these. And there we go. And then I think the tower won't take up all of the space, so let's just add in a little bit of a roof here as well. And we'll do the same on the other side. And then for the tower, we'll do something a bit different. We'll do something like this, and same on the other side. And then we'll add in a normal stone block. Let's make place for a little bit of a lantern so we can have some light up here, because this will be the start of the opening where the bell will be. And then I think we'll take this up 4 blocks. Then for the roof, we'll get some slabs. We'll add those like this. And then we'll add in some spruce fence gates and we'll open them to add a bit more detail up here holding the roof up. And it seems you might actually have to sleep up here. What a view. Then on top of the fence gate, we'll add another slab. And then we'll add in some trapdoors besides that. And then we'll actually have a full block. And then we'll add in some stairs. And then just one last full block with a fence on top. And let's see if we can get down here safely. We need one thing. The bell. And there we go. While we're here, we can just as well add in the railing up here, which is just a mixture of fence gates and fences. And there we go. That's basically the roof. Now we just need some more details down by the side of this church, because right now it looks a little derpy. So we basically need some windows here. I want 2 windows here and then also a big one on this side. But let's start with these ones on the side. Just gonna add in some chisel stone brick, some stairs, and we take these up 3 blocks. And then we add in a stair like this. And one in between. Then we remove these and then finish them off with a slab like that. And let's just repeat that right on the next one. And as a smart man once said, a window is not a window without a window. So let's add in a window. I'll just add some blue stained glass and some light blue stained glass in there, and we can add in a little bit of a flower pot here with the flower. Let's do that over here as well. And just to add in a bit more detail, I will actually add in a few pots right in between here, add some bamboo, and then just a couple of leaves to make this look nice and lush. It looks much better already. And then for the backside, we basically do the same thing, just on a bigger scale. And then it should look like something like this, and now we just need the glass in there. And then to finish off this side, I think we'll add in a couple of flowers. Just like that. Now we have some windows here, but we're not finished yet. We also need a door, which is gonna be right here. So let's start by digging out a little hole here. And this might be the only place where we're actually a little challenged by the farm on the inside, but I think we can do. And I think that somewhat works. I do need a door in there, but we'll get to that. And just to finish this off, I'll actually add a bit of a shed on the side here. Nothing fancy, but just a little extra thing. Let me just do a few last details here. And I think that looks pretty cool. And just like that, we have a church now. Now I just hope the farm will actually work when we add the villagers and the zombie. You guys better cross your fingers. Before we get to test whether the farm works or not, we need to kidnap a few villagers from the nearby villages. So let's go for a ride. Before we do that, how about we finally get to name our lovely horse? First of all, thank you so much for all the amazing name suggestions on the last episode. From my 4 favorites, the MVPs of the last episode all voted for Waffles. So let us name our horse and get on with kidnapping some villagers. I found 3 villagers and also Waffles. Waffles is running on the boats that is in the water. I'm trying to go back to the ocean so we can boat all the way home. Oh, I actually think we're quite close to spawn here. What a throwback. I think we just spawned right over there. Right where you can see those birch leaves. I think that's actually our very first tree that we chopped down. You guys see that church? That's your new home and it's gonna be fantastic. I'm sure you'll not be scared to death at all. Okay, so I think I'll park the boat over here and let's see if we can drag these guys up. Okay, that's going pretty well. Just a little bit more. Perfect. So if you guys want to go inside, you can do that. I've made a little platform here so you can run in there. And whoop. Whoop, there we go. There we go. Where are you guys going? Oh, you're going for the barrels. Oh my god. I think that's actually working now. Okay, they're going in. Going in, yes. And the last guy as well. Suckers, you're stuck now. Now we have one last thing to do, which requires... Oh no, I might be the sucker now. But it requires one boat right there. And then we need a zombie. Oh, we have a guy there in golden armor. I guess that's actually pretty good. So we can sleep already. Come this way, mister. This right here, this is your new workplace and home. You'll also be living here. There we go. Now get in the boat. And we will name you... We'll name you Gary. And I think I already hear a iron golem in there. Let me just see. Oh, look at that. It's working. You guys saw that? Burn, mister, burn. But I think while the iron farm is going, we should do something about the outside, because right now this doesn't look very pretty with all these path blocks. Obviously we do need some paths, but not all of this. One cool thing though is that we can actually use farmland as well. So I think we'll just be planting some wheat around here and also blend it in a little bit just so it's not a full square. So let me go ahead and try that. And there we go. I think that looks much better. Alright, now the iron farm is running, we should focus on the next farm. I've missed using mossy cobble, bricks and so on for my build so far, so I think it would be really cool to make a moss farm. But just as the iron farm, we can't just have it out in the open looking all redstone-y. I want to hide it away inside of a cool building. One thing I've learned from the start island is that I want my buildings to be closer this time. So I think we should find a nice little area right over here, right next to the church. And why not start right there? And I kind of want this building to have like 2 sections, so I think the first one will just be 5 wide, just like this. And then we will offset the next one by 3 blocks, I guess. And then from here, I think we'll go 9 blocks. 7, 8, 9, just like that. Then on this end, we'll just do a 5 block. 4, 5, and 1 more. And then we end up with the layout just like this. And before I forget it, we should actually do a little bit of texturing. So let's add in some andesite. And then up from here, I want to go 3 blocks. Then on the front bit here, I think we need to do a little bit more details. And we'll keep it in the same style as the one on the start island. As something new, I actually want to add in a window here, but it's not going to be a normal window. I'm going to be using these copper grates, and I think these will look very cool when they turn green. Now I just want to do this 2 more times right over here. And then I'll add in a door, just like on the church. I mostly just did these so I can build up the walls on here. And we just go up 5 blocks here and also here. Then we connect them up in between with a couple of logs. And then these ones will bring up 6 blocks and connect them together as well. On the back side, I want to add in some spruce stairs every 2nd block. And then for the large one in the middle, we go up 8 blocks. And just like that, we have the skeleton of the house. Now all we need to do is actually add in the pale oak wood and strip it. And for the roof, I'm actually going to be doing some things just slightly different. I don't want these to be as steep, I want them to be more of a curve. Only other little detail I added was a little arch around the windows, or at least where the windows will be. And then we just have to fill it in with some deep slate tiles. And of course a couple of slabs. Then for this roof over here, we kind of do the same thing. Small little detail around the windows. And other than that, it's basically the same thing. And then we just need to fill this in. And so far, I think this looks pretty cool. It's not the most detailed roof or anything, but sometimes I think less is more. But next up is some of the details on the outside, but I think you kind of get the gist of this building. So let's just skip ahead. So I think we're starting to get there, at least with the outside. I've just been adding in lots of bushes and stuff like that. I've added in these windows, and the only thing I've actually changed is adding in the oak details instead of spruce up there. And I think that actually looks quite nice to have some different colors of brown. One thing I'm pretty happy about is this little custom tree, and I think it looks super cute. But I think this end actually needs just a little bit more. And I'm actually thinking we should add in a chimney. So the chimney is going to be pretty simple. It's just going to be a mixture of granite and bricks. And if you ask me, that looks pretty cool. Now all we need is the interior and the actual moss farm. And for the interior, I've kept it pretty simple. I just added in a couple of furnaces over to the chimney, added in a couple of workstations, as I want this to be a small little outpost where I can also do some crafting. And for the upstairs, I've made a little small office right over here, and a dining room and maybe a little bit of a couch. It truly isn't anything crazy, but I think this looks super cozy. I have also started out digging an area underneath here, because this is where I want my moss farms. But as you can see, currently we just have 2 big holes on each side of this walkway, and that's because we actually need to head to the Nether to gather some quartz and also some blaze rods. But before we head to the Nether, we need to gather some obsidian so we can make the portal. And we also need some golden boots so we can stay safe. Now that we are ready to go to the Nether, let's find a place for the Nether portal. And I think this market stall might be perfect. We just need to dig out just a little bit here. And just add in the obsidian. And before we light this up, let's cover it up a little bit. And up top, let's add a slab. And then I think we're ready to go in. I really hate this part. Okay, we're here, and I don't think this is the worst spawn we could get. But that said, I don't see much quartz around here. After exploring a little bit, I found my first quartz. And I'm going to be trying to gather as much of this as possible, because we will both be needing some comparators and some observers as well. The Nether is really reminding me, one wrong step and this world is over. So let's stay away from the edges. Now with a little more than 6 stacks of quartz, I think we can focus on looking for the Nether fortress. After digging for a while, I finally found a fortress, but it wasn't easy to get to. But after a while, I found a way down. Okay, let me just make this staircase a little more safe. Oh, we have a spawner right here. Oh, that's perfect. Now we just need to get a couple of blaze rods. Oh, we have another guy over here. Oh, okay, let's eat. Whew, that got close. Let's see. Okay, here we go. That's more. Oh, that's 3 actually. It's 1 down. It's 2 down. And 3 down. That gave us 3 blaze rods, and honestly, I'm taking that. Let's head back home. Luckily, we made it home, safe and sound, but I'm still no redstone genius, and I have no idea how to make a redstone farm, but I've found a tutorial, and I've now gathered all the materials we will need to make both a moss farm and also a pale moss farm. So, let's get to building. If you're still watching, first of all, thank you. Second, comment the word pancake so I know who the true legends are. And with that, we're halfway there. We now have a working moss farm, and now we just need a pale moss farm right over here. And obviously, we need to make this look a bit more pretty than this. But let's get to work. Now that the pale moss farm is also finished, I think we can start decorating this area. And let's start with this ugly staircase. Let's start out with changing this dirt out for some more deep slate. And then I think around the staircase we'll add in some walls, and also a little bit of a wall right here in the middle. And to break up this black, I think we'll add in some light gray carpet. And while we add it, why not add in a bit more shape? You know what, I think we actually need some light here, so let's add in a bit of a lantern instead. Yeah, that's much better. Now for the main room, I want to add in some pillars. And I'm going to be adding these every 3 blocks. So that means we'll have to move this back wall back a bit more. And then on top of the barrels, we'll add in a couple of oak logs, then a couple of spruce trapdoors, and a spruce stair on top, so we get a pillar just like that. And to connect them together, let's add in a log up here and a lantern. That looks pretty cool. Let's do that a couple more times. Now for the ceiling, I'll add in a couple more trapdoors and a log in between. And now for the rest of the ceiling. And I think I'll keep this pretty simple with some chiseled tough bricks. And I think that looks pretty cool. Let's do that for the rest. And there we go. Now we just need a couple of walls here and there. And let's start out with the levers. Just gonna add in some oak logs and strip them. And then from there, add in some planks on top. Nothing crazy, but that looks pretty cool. Now for the actual farms, I do want to keep them open so you can actually look in there. So I think we'll keep most of the same theme going right here with some more pillars. But in between here we do need to keep it flush for the farm to work. So this part might not have as much depth, but it will still look pretty cool. Yeah, that does look pretty cool. But then I think we'll cover this up with some stairs and just some more planks. And then we just connect these beams together and add in some light. And now we just need the tuff. And the farm still seems to work, so let's do this on the other side as well. And there we go. Now we also have it built over here. Now we just need a floor. And I think I'll keep it pretty simple with some stone bricks. And then around here I actually want to add in some moss. And I'm gonna make a bit of a gradient so we have more regular moss over on this side and more pale moss on this side. And at last just a couple of carpets here and there. And with that I think we actually have a pretty cool moss farm now. Before we get started with other builds, let's take a moment and just enjoy how cool this farm looks. Alright, with the moss farm going, we can start working on our next farm. I really want to use more carpets in my builds to cozy up the interiors, but currently I have a hard time farming up some wool. We should probably do something about that and build a wool farm. And I think we'll put it right over here, so let's make an entrance here, if I can place these barrels correctly. And then 3 in between. I think that's gonna be a nice little opening. Then on each side we'll do this every second block, just like this. And I'll actually have an opening on the back side as well. And then we just gotta copy that side over to this side. Easy peasy. Then on top of the barrels, I wanna put 4 oak logs. And I'll do the same for the opening. And then in between we'll connect those together. And then underneath here, let's add in a couple of stairs. And then in between here we will add in the strip pale oak. This is really reminding me that I want feather falling soon. Let's go ahead and add in a couple of windows. On this side I want 3 windows. But over here, I'll keep it with just 2. And these copper grates actually look super cool when they turn green. I love that. And in the corners here, I want to add in a couple of fences. And then on top of the fences, we will add in the roof. We're gonna have a trim with the deep slate tiles again, because I really think that looks super cool with the mangrove in between. Again, I'm gonna do these like curved roofs like this, so we'll stop the stairs here and switch over to some slabs. Let's do that on the other side as well. And for the main roof, it's gonna be mangrove again. But again, I do also want to add in a bit of a window up here. So let's add in a couple more stairs like that. And then a couple of trapdoors like this. And I think this is such a cool little detail right here, where you break up the big parts of the roofs with just a bit of a different color. And also it adds in a bit more light to the inside of the building. And with that, we now have a roof. But we need a little bit of a thing in the middle here. And I'm actually thinking we'll add a tower here. But first, let's sleep. For the tower, we probably need some nice stability. So let's start out making in some beams down here. And with this, we now have a nice foundation for the tower. Then up here, we will add in some pillars on each side. Then we'll connect these together. And we will also make a cross in the middle. And then on top of this, we will add in 3 blocks. And in between here, we will add in some stripped pale oak. And we will add these up 4 blocks. And then we just need to add in a couple of windows up here. And of course it starts raining. So let's add in a stair and then a fence. And let's do that all the way around. And then for each corner I'll add in some fence gates. And then on top of each of these fence gates, I'll add in a stair and connect them up with some slabs. And then to connect these up, we add in some mangrove again and some slabs. And let's sleep this rain away. Ah, that's much better. And let's finish up this roof with just a small little thing like that. I think that looks super cool already, but it needs a lot of details. But I think you get the gist here, so let me add those in. And with that, I think this build might actually be finished. I think this looks super cool. I actually tried to add in as many flowers as I could. Most of the details are just vegetation in all kinds of different ways. Other than that, we have a few lanterns. On this side, I've made a bit of a vine that grows up. And on the back side, we just have a couple of bushes. And we're actually using these new bushes because my modpack has now updated to 1.21.8, which is super cool. And on this side, we just have a little window with a pot as well. On the inside, I've made it ready for a couple of sheep to be over here, and then I made a bit of like a work shack over here where you can work on stuff. And right here is where the staircase down to the actual wool farm will be, but we need to do some digging for that. Now the hole is dug out, and before we get on with this, you're not going crazy. I had to move these 2 sides around because that side was a little too close to the moss farm. But anyways, we now have a hole over here. So let's start out adding in the farms and then we can decorate it afterwards. So let's start out adding in the barrels. I will put these down every second block. So we have 8 barrels on each side. Then on the back side we add in some hoppers. Then 2 blocks up from the hopper we add in some grass. This is where the sheep will be. Now we need to craft up a few minecarts, add some hoppers to them, and then we put down a rail and the minecart with the hopper on top of that, and remove the rail. And now for the redstone bit, we need an observer looking into the grass. And then behind the observer we will add a block, and on top of this block we add a piece of redstone. And then we add in a dispenser looking towards the sheep. And then we need to add in some glass, and this is just here to keep the sheep in. For the front bit, I'll be adding in some chiseled bricks and chiseled bricks, as this front facade will actually tie into my design down here. Now we just need some shears and some sheep. All of these shears are quite easy to make now that we actually have an iron farm. Okay, and now all the shears in. That was so much iron. Anyways, let me get these sheeps in here and then we can start decorating. So now the sheeps are down here, and I do not want to talk about how long this took, but now to the fun part. We need to color these. Okay, I should have dyed these before I put them down here, because now I have to wait for them to eat. Okay, let's see. There we go. And I've turned off all the farms, so I need to put back the redstone as well. This shows why I don't do anything with redstone usually. But I guess while we wait, we actually fix this farm. Because I've learned that these actually needs to be on top of the rails, so let's break these. So I guess we better put back the rails. I still can't believe I've messed up such a simple farm. Oh my god, the last guy finally ate. Oh, this took so much longer than I expected. But let's not stop here, we need to add back the redstone. And let's add back the tough bricks. And there we go, now we can finally start decorating this area. And let's start out with the floor. And it's just gonna be using some tough bricks. Then I'm gonna be using some stairs so it's easier to go into the barrels. And then in between the stairs I'll add in some chisel tuff. That already looks super cool. Let's do something with these walls. So in between here we'll just be adding in some logs. Like that, and then we add in some spruce stairs right above the barrel, so the barrel is still easily accessible. And then at the top we add some stairs as well with a trapdoor underneath. And now let's look at the ceiling, because we need somewhere to hang these lanterns. In between the stairs we'll add oak, and in between there we will add in some stripped birch. And now for the most important thing, the lighting. For the back wall we will keep it quite simple and keep the same pattern going as we have right here. And we do the same down here by the staircase. And for the staircase itself we will add in a couple of logs where we have the barrels and then just some spruce planks in between. Now that doesn't look half bad, does it? For one final touch we will be adding in a bit of wool right here so we can see exactly what kind of wool we get from each barrel. And honestly, I think this looks super cool. Also, if you've made it this far into the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. And before we start the next project, let's take a moment and enjoy this build. The wool farm is finally running, and hopefully I won't have to deal with any more sheep in the near future. But I needed the wool, and we'll be putting that into use in the next build. That said, I want to have more paper to make more bookshelves, and I actually really want to use more of the bamboo blocks. So why not build both a sugarcane farm and a bamboo farm? And honestly, I have the perfect idea for a build to hide the redstone mess. So the great build idea is actually a windmill, and I want to place it right over here. But before we get started with that, I have a confession to make. I've never made a windmill before, and when I do something I've never tried before, I look up on some tutorials and some builds on the interwebs. And I found this amazing tutorial, so if you want to build this windmill yourself, go check that out. That doesn't mean I haven't made my own spin on this, because I wanted this windmill to fit in quite nicely with the rest of my builds. Anyways, let's get started. And we start right here. And then we just go around with some andesite with a little bit of tuff here. And then we bring this up 3 more blocks. And the further we get up, we add in more stone. This way we make a nice gradient from the darker colors at the bottom and some lighter colors at the top. And then up here we go with some stairs and a full block on the corners to narrow in this quite tall building we are making. And then around the corners here we fill it in with some oak logs. And then we go up 4 blocks. And in between the oak we use some stripped pale oak. And then again we add in some stairs. Up here we do the same, adding in some logs to do that. And then we go up 5 blocks. And in between we obviously use more pale oak and strip it. And I've now realized I'm all the way up here with no food and almost at half HP. Wish me luck to get down from here. Let's take this slow. And let's go back home and grab some more food. And I guess we'll be living off some bread, which at the end of the day is quite delicious. And now standing here on my starter island, I can see how much work I've actually done. This little settlement looks absolutely amazing from here. And for the roof we're keeping it quite simple with some deep slate tiles around and making a small little dome, which I think looks quite nice. And that was the main part of the building. Now we just need the hard stuff, the big fan in the front and also all the details. And let's start out with a door right here. I'm going to be adding in a mangrove door. I think the red looks quite cool here as it's like a feature that goes throughout the whole build. But we'll be adding some spruce around it so it's not totally red here. And I think that looks quite cute. But I also think we need a lantern to light up the front here. Then on the sides we'll be adding in a few little details around some windows. Adding in a nice couple of shutters. We'll do the same on the back side. And then on this one over here we will be adding in a lantern. Just like that. On the inside I want to add a ladder that goes up to the 2nd floor. And for that matter we need a 2nd floor. And in the middle here we will need a shaft that goes from the bottom to the top. Then up here we can add in a couple of windows on each side. Keeping it quite simple. The slab and 2 trapdoors. And we do the same over here, but we add in a bit of a lantern as well. And that's it for the top floor. Let's go back down. Now that's already looking much better, but we still need the main part up here. So let's jump right into a time lapse. And would you take a look at that? That looks absolutely amazing. I love these wings, and I'm definitely noting this down for whenever I have to create my own windmill. Other than that, I've actually added in a bit of vegetation and stuff down here at the bottom. I felt like it needed a little bit more to fit in with the rest of the builds. So all I did was adding in a bit of a planter, some barrels, lots of little bushes and flowers all over the place. I really love when things are kind of like overgrown like this. All in all, I think this turned out very, very well. And now for the actual farm, we need to dig a bit of a hole down here so we can actually fit in these farms. So let's get digging. Okay, so the hole is now dug. I need to figure out where we put the sugarcane farm and the bamboo farm. And I think we put the sugarcane farm over here and the bamboo farm over here. The only difference between these two farms is that the sugarcane farm actually needs some water behind it. And I'm gonna use some smooth stone just so that I know I shouldn't dig these away. Besides that, we just add in the water. And then behind the mud, we add in a block. I'm gonna use tough bricks. I'm gonna put this on the sides as well. And then on top of the tough bricks, we add in the pistons, just one for each. Behind the pistons we put a block. I use smooth stone, and then I put in some redstone dust, and then an observer looking towards the sugarcane. And that's basically the whole farm, so whenever the sugarcane grows all the way up here, the observer will detect it, send a signal, and the piston will push out. Now we just need a few hoppers underneath here to collect our stuff. So I'm gonna dig a bit of a trench right here where I can work. And then over here at the end, we add in a chest, and then hoppers all the way underneath the mud. And now we can actually just plant the sugarcane. So let's basically do the same over on this side for the bamboo farm. Add in a block underneath, the piston, the smooth stone behind, the redstone dust, the observer, and there we go. And then the hoppers. And now to the fun part of decorating this area. And I think we should start with a staircase because I'm getting tired of jumping up and down this hole. So first of all, just some stairs. And with this stair-in, I think we need a little bit of a flooring up here. And then around here we add in a bit of tough bricks. And we do this all the way up. And that also goes for the pillar. And at the top another chiseled tough brick. And then let's add in some spruce and strip it. We do this on both sides. And then we add in a stair like that. And just a log there. And let's do another one of these right next to where the chest is. And connect these up with another log and strip them. And let's connect these up as well. And let's keep it simple with the roof and add in some tough bricks. And then to cover up the chest, we will actually add in a trapdoor. And then on top of here, we add in some tough brick stairs and a chiseled tough brick there. This way we can't fall down there and get stuck, but we can still reach in and get our sugarcane. Okay, with the chest finished, I think we should work a bit on this floor. Let's start out by adding our lantern up there and start digging out. For starters, let's add in some spruce logs here and strip them. And the same over here. And then for the actual flooring, I'm gonna use some oak logs like this and make a cool little pattern. And at the end here, let's strip them all. I think this makes such a cool little pattern out of something so simple. Oh, that looks so cool already. Well, let's get back to the walls again. Let's start out by adding a pillar down here and strip them. And then we add in a log in between the two pillars here on the long side and the same over here. And then we add in a couple of stairs, connect them together with another spruce log and add a lantern. Let's finish up the farms themselves with a couple of tough bricks here and then some glowstone on top. I think that adds such a cool lighting down here. Let's take down this dirt ceiling as that does not look cool at all. Then for the ceiling I want to add in a beam of spruce logs all the way along, strip them as usual, and then we add in some tough brick stairs in between. And I think that looks pretty cool. Adds just a little bit of extra shape in here. And down on the end here, I want to do something a bit extra. I want to add in a water feature. And you may think to yourself, well, there's no water here. Well, take a look at this. We add a cauldron down here. Add some water. Now we have water. And now we have running water as well. I think that looks pretty cool. And then on each side, we'll be adding in a flower pot with a few puppies. And I think that looks pretty sick, actually. And now that we added, let's add a few flowers down here as well. And now we only have one last thing to do, is actually plant our sugarcane and our bamboo. And add in a bit of glass, so we can still see it growing, but the bamboo and sugarcane won't fly all over the place. If you ask me, this is a really good looking sugarcane farm and bamboo farm. Now all we have to do is wait. And while we wait for the farm to produce us a lot of items, I think we should decorate this farming village to make it look more cohesive and, most important of all, more cozy. Alright, and I think the first thing I actually want to do is fill out this space, because right now we just have a big blank canvas right here, which I want to fill out with lots of flowers. But I don't just want them to be all over the place. I want to make some nice organized fields for them. I'm thinking one for roses maybe over here, and then one for peonies over here. So let's get started. And I think we want one that's quite close to where you're coming up right here. So let's make this 11 blocks this way, all the way over here. And then we go 9 blocks in this direction. And then we just connect it up. And let's make an outline out of just some regular stone. But I also want a walkway through the middle. So let's add in some stone right here as well. And then we just fill it out with some coarse dirt. And then I want to add in a fence, and I'm going to be using some polished tough walls and some spruce fence gates. And when you're using fence gates together with walls, you get this very cool arch, because the fences going up against the walls actually go down a bit lower. And with the fence up, let's add in some lanterns as well, so we don't have any pesky mobs spawning around here. And at last, let's add in the peonies. And let's get some more with some bone meal. I love that you could do this with the 2 tall flowers. And there we go. I think that's such a nice pop of color right there. Let's do another one for rose bushes. Oh, that's so cool. I like the pop of color this gives. It is really these small little builds in between the bigger builds that kind of ties it all together. Now I think we need some roads in here. And for the paths, I'm gonna go quite simple, just like we did on the start island. Going with some paths and then adding in a bit of coarse dirt on the side. Now all we need is to connect it up to all the builds. And now the roads in, and they look absolutely amazing. I have another thing that I really want to do here, and that actually goes behind the village. I want to add in a nice old stone fence to kind of keep the village safe. So let's start from right around here, and then just do some random shapes until we kind of meet up with this corner. Then we mix in some of our newly acquired mossy cobblestone, and then we just add in lots of different variations. And then we end up with just a little bit of vegetation around here as well. Some leaves and some azalea bushes. And then we end up with the wall looking like this. Let's do this around the whole village. Now that the wall is in, I'm actually loving this so much. This may seem like a small little detail, but I think seeing this behind all the builds kind of frames this whole thing as one. And at the end of the day, that's what we want. In between the moss farm and the wool farm, I actually want to add in a lot of these small little wildflowers, because I haven't played around with these yet. And oh my, they look amazing. So let's go crazy for once and just add in a bunch. Oh, that looks so cute. Now I just want to add in a few little bushes to break it up just a little bit. Oh yeah, that's definitely the right move. I think around the path, I'm actually going to be using some of these leaf litter, as it's a nice little bridge in between the brown and the green. Oh yeah, that looks really cool. And at last, let's just add in some bone meal to fill out the rest here. So I wanted to surprise you guys with the forest, but I kind of regret that because that took so long to grow. But that said, I think the forest behind the village looks so cool, especially with the little stone fence right there and then the trees. And because you've made it this far into the video, I want to give you a chance to name this village. So put your suggestions down in the comments and I'll pick my favorite for the next video. And just at the end, let's take a moment and enjoy this village.